The Ark of the Covenant is one object whose mysterious disappearance has shocked the world and scientists.
All of these leave me with no doubt. In this sealed cave are the greatest treasures of Israel.
We're talking about one of Israel's most potent weapons and carriers of the presence of God, which mysteriously vanished for over 3,000 years, but has now resurfaced, leaving scientists shocked. What happened to the Ark of Covenant? And what did scientists find inside it? Let's find out.
Hi, this is extremely interesting. Let's check it out.
Today, the Ark of the Covenant remains one of the most sacred artifacts ever. It was a holy chest in ancient Judaism that contained the Ten Commandments, given to Moses by God on Mount Sinai. Here, Scripture highlights that the encounter of Moses with God to receive the commandments was so powerful that he shone as brightly as the sun and could not be looked upon by the people when he finally came down. That being the case, you can imagine the kind of power that the tablets of the words of God contain. The Ark of Covenant was considered the most sacred object in Jewish tradition. It was housed in the innermost sanctum of the tabernacle, a portable sanctuary used by the Israelites during their wanderings in the wilderness. The ark was a rectangular chest of acacia wood overlaid with gold. It was approximately 3.5 feet long, 1.75 feet wide, and 2.5 feet high. It had a lid called the mercy seat, made of solid gold and adorned with two cherubim, or winged angels. The ark was said to contain 3 sacred objects. As you already know, the first was the Ten Commandments, written on 2 stone tablets by God himself. Second was a golden pot of manna, the miraculous food God provided for the Israelites in the wilderness. Third is Aaron's rod, which had budded miraculously. According to God's instructions, the ark was usually carried by the Levites, the priestly tribe, on poles that were attached to golden rings on the sides of the ark. When the Israelites were at war, the ark was carried at the front of the army as a symbol of God's presence and protection. The ark was so powerful that it was said to have the ability to release the wrath of God with blazing fire and lights that could be blinding. The mysterious power of the ark was also capable of parting the sea and wiping away the enemies of God's people. According to history, no one could look into or touch the ark, as this would result in deadly consequences. For example, the residents of Beth Shemesh looked into the ark and were struck by divine lightning. A close depiction of this is seen in the Indiana Jones movie titled Raiders, where the faces of those who dared to look into the ark melted away like plastic in the fire. All of this resulted from the glory of God in the ark, which in later times comfortably dwelled in the temple built by Solomon in Jerusalem before tragedy struck and culminated in its being lost for thousands of years. But how did the Ark of Covenant get lost? Now, one thing we must understand about the Ark of Covenant is that it was never static. Instead, it was constantly being moved, changing its location for different reasons. For example, the ark had roamed in the wilderness with the Israelites for 40 years and was kept in tabernacles whenever they settled in a place for a short while. However, we can say that the beginning of problems of the Ark of Covenant kick-started at the end of King Solomon's reign and after his death. This is because shortly after the death of King Solomon, there was an invasion of Israel. Shishak attacked in the 10th century BCE. The ark had briefly gone missing during this period, and it was only in the reign of King Josiah that the ark resurfaced. This was when Israel found itself recovering from Shishak's invasion, so it was an excellent time to have the ark back. 2 Chronicles 35:1. 6 was the first time in the scriptures where the ark was mentioned after its short disappearance. But things soon turned sour again, as this was just the beginning of the legend of the missing ark. Following this, the Babylonian invasion took place in 587 BCE. During this invasion, the Babylonians did not hesitate to plunder the distressed Israelites' treasures. As if that wasn't enough, they went on to raid Solomon's temple, seizing the temple vessels, including the ships of the mighty Ark of Covenant. While it was stated that the contents of the Ark of Covenant were taken away, there was no mention of the Ark itself being taken. However, statements of the Ark being missing started to spread after the temple was burnt down. From that time till now, it's been millennia since the Ark had gone missing. And despite the numerous research on this holy treasure, with many trying to figure out its location, the whole situation remains a great mystery. At this point, there have been many speculations on the fate of the Ark of the Covenant. For some, the Ark of the Covenant had been destroyed alongside Solomon's temple when it burnt down. However, only some agree with this theory. As the mystery heightens, ideas in the Copper Scroll also emerge, stating that the Ark of the Covenant had been hidden during the Roman siege and the Jewish revolt. Interestingly, this implies that it was not destroyed in the fire, which is good news, but the question remains where the Ark is. As part of an attempt to answer this question, about 64 hints have been given in the Essene scroll on the location of gold and silver and that of the Ark. However, they are all written in cryptic languages. But it gets more interesting as the theory of the hidden Ark is not all there is when it comes to people's speculations about what happened to the Ark of the Covenant. So, what are some other exciting theories about the location of the Ark of the Covenant? Where exactly is the Ark? Regarding theories about where the Ark of the Covenant is, it will do you so much good to take care of them, as they are numerous and therefore can be confusing. To save time, we will briefly explore these theories. First, we will be talking about the Knights Templar theory. The Knights Templar, also called the Poor Fellow Soldiers of Christ, and the Temple of King Solomon, were Catholic military orders founded in Jerusalem in 1119. They were one of medieval Europe's wealthiest and most powerful military orders. The Templars were established to protect Christian pilgrims traveling to the Holy Land. They quickly became a powerful military force and played a significant role in the Crusades. The Templars also built many castles and fortifications in the Holy Land today. In addition to their military role, the Templars were a religious order. They took oaths of chastity, poverty, and obedience. They also had several unique customs and rituals, some still practiced by forces today. The Templars were eventually suppressed by the Pope in 1312. Their downfall was due in part to their growing wealth and power, as well as to several accusations of heresy. However, the Templars remain one of history's most fascinating and mysterious military orders. It is believed that after the Knight Templar had been disbanded and even executed, some of them managed to survive and may still have numerous valuables, including the Ark of the Covenant, which they claim to have found before their disbandment and execution. Rumors hold that their wealth and treasures were preserved in Rennes-le-Château in France. From here, they were finally transferred to Scotland and later the United States. Following this train of thought would mean that the Knight Templar had survived well into the Masonic Age, and that will be another argument on its own, which you don't want to delve into as there are more theories on our plate. There is also the theory that the Ark of Covenant currently resides in the Ethiopian Orthodox Tewahedo Church, halfway across the world. In this theory, it is believed that the Ark of Covenant now dwells in a church popularly known as the Church of Our Lady Mary Zion. This might only sound so surprising once you hear the story behind it. According to the level found in some Ethiopian religious texts, it all starts with King Solomon and the Queen of Sheba, who were said to have allegedly had a son named Menelik I. According to the scriptures, the Queen of Sheba had traveled from her country to see Solomon, having heard of his wisdom, which she confirmed on her arrival. It is believed that this visitation had brooded a relationship that led to a son named Menelik, who became the founder of Ethiopia. Though he was the founder of Ethiopia, Menelik was raised as a Jew, and was said to have even visited Jerusalem a couple of times and even returned with the firstborn sons of some Israelite nobles at once. On one of his visits, one of his followers was said to have stolen and carried the Ark of Covenant alongside them. They went back to Ethiopia, leaving behind a replica in its place. Menelik had only learned about this chat when they arrived in Ethiopia. However, it's incredible that they successfully carried the Ark to their country without causing disruption or destruction. Hence, he decided to keep the Ark, believing that it was God's will that it should be.
Do you believe in the Ark of the Covenant existed? Please comment down below. Let us know.
We had earlier talked about the theory of the Ark of the Covenant being hidden before the Roman siege, and this is another way to agree with that concept. According to the Ethiopians, the Ark's power was known to the land from the late 1600s, during the reign of Emperor Esau. According to reports, the emperor had spoken to the Ark personally. He had experienced its power, which he claimed to have access to them now. According to this theory, the emperor was responsible for building the Mary of Zion Church in Aksum, now the resident location of the Ark of Covenant. As for evidence of whether or not the tale of Menelik's relationship with the Israelites was confirmed, one can quickly look at the history of Ethiopia and find that Ethiopia has had a considerable number of Jews within the land in the past. This phenomenon was said to have changed when a majority of the Jews were airlifted to Israel during Operation Solomon in 1991. Again, the connection can also be observed in the fact that most of the country's practices are in line with that of the Jews. Now we find that despite Ethiopia adopting the Orthodox Church's worship patterns in later years, all the churches in the country still seem to have a tabithy that mimics the Ark of the Covenant in physical appearance and shape. As for the church in Aksum, where the Ark of Covenant resides, it is said to have full-time virgin priests who, once chosen and anointed, are not allowed to set foot outside the church compound and are to guard the Ark for the rest of their lives. With all these things happening in Ethiopia, it's hard not to believe that the Ark resides there. For this theory, we find Graham Hancock to be a forerunner detailing the journey of the Ark to Ethiopia in his book titled The Sign and the Seal, published in 1992. However, Graham Hancock's book is not the only witness concerning the Ark of the Covenant being in Ethiopia. It shook the world when, on June 25, 2009, an announcement was made by the Patriarch of the Ethiopian Orthodox Church known as Abuna Paulos. In a statement to a news agency, he stated that he would unveil the Ark of the Covenant to the world the following day. He said, "Soon the world will be able to admire the Ark of Covenant described in scriptures as the container of the tablets of the Lord that God delivered to Moses." He also stated that the Ark of the Covenant had been in Ethiopia for centuries and had seen it with his own eyes. As interesting as this sounds, it's easy to think the Ark was later revealed as the Patriarch had said in his words. However, that did not happen as he later reversed his announcement the following day, even though he remains affirmative that the Ark is in Ethiopia. While you ponder whether or not the Ark of Covenant is in Ethiopia, another theory about the whereabouts of the Ark can be traced down to southern Africa in Zimbabwe, where we have the Lemba people. Here, the Lemba people claimed that their ancestors were also possessors of the Ark of Covenant. Here they refer to the Ark of Covenant as the Ingoma Lungundu, translated in English as the voice of God. According to the Limba people, their ancestors had secured the Ark of Covenant in a deep cave in the Dumgi Mountains, their spiritual home. Of course, this is not a claim to take in without any doubt or objection, so it will interest you to know that someone has investigated their claims. Here, a researcher, Tudor Parfit, investigated their claims in a UK Channel 4 documentary on April 14, 2008. Here, he took a literalist approach, comparing their description of the Ark of Covenant in their possession with that described in the Bible. Now, the results were shocking. According to Parfit, the description of the Ark of Covenant given by the Lemba people matches the description of the Ark of Covenant given in the Bible. They both had similar sizes, were carried by priests with poles, could not be allowed to touch the ground, and had the power to defeat their enemies. Parfit did not stop with this documentary, but explained that the Ark was later taken to Arabia after the events portrayed in the second book of Maccabees. From there, it was stated that the Ark later landed in Yemen. According to the Yemeni people, the Ark had been in Senna for a while before being taken to inland East Africa during the Great Zimbabwe civilization. Here, the story of the Ark takes a dark turn. According to the Yemeni people, the Ark eventually destroyed itself shortly after it arrived on the land. Still, despite this, the Lemba priest was able to make a new one from the core of the old one. The new Ark, which was somewhat a replica, was eventually discovered in a cave by Harold von Sickard, a Swedish-German missionary in the 1940s, and was later sent to the Museum of Human Science in Harare. From all these theories, it is clear that people are curious about the whereabouts of the Ark of the Covenant. And beyond these theories, people have gone further to carry out more desperate actions in the past. For example, Ireland in 1899 and 1902 saw a severe excavation heralded by the British Israel Association of London on the hill of Tara. Here, the excavation aimed at searching for the Ark of Covenant and would have left no stone unturned, but for the Irish nationalists like Maud Gonne, as well as the Royal Society of Antiquaries of Ireland, who campaigned against the excavation and successfully had it stopped to protect the mountain from destruction. After this excavation was stopped, further surveys were carried out on the hill by Connor Newman in 1992 to 1995. Still, these had no vital results. The search in Ireland was based on the belief that some British Israelites had, which insisted that the Ark of Covenant may have been kept in the grave of the Egyptian princess Te Tefi, who married an Irish king in the 6th century BC. Now, while many people try to explain and figure out the exact location of the Ark of Covenant, others settle for the theory that it never existed in the first place. Now, this group of people points out that the narratives of the Ark of Covenant had not been incorporated into the Bible for a long while. This changed only in the 7th century BC, and the record sufficed. Because of this, some doubt the fact that the Ark of Covenant was ever real in the first place. For example, Israel Finkelstein from Tel Aviv University, who had led the initial excavation on the mountain, speaks up. According to him, the narrative could not have survived for many centuries without it being passed down from generation to generation through any form of writing. However, even though some see the late addition of narratives as suspicious, others see it in a good light, declaring that it shows how possible it is for ancient histories to be included in modern texts. So, have scientists seen the Ark? The answer here is very tricky, as a couple of scientists claim to have seen and even looked into the Ark of the Covenant. An example of this scientist is Edward Olander. According to Romans, Edward Olander had dared to open the Ark of Covenant, which was claimed to be located in Ethiopia, but what he saw was shocking. Recounting the incident, Olander stated that the Ark of Covenant was only an empty box when he looked into it. It did not seem to have been made millennia ago. Instead, it looked like a carving from the Middle to the late medieval period. Thus, it is widely believed that the Ark Olander had seen was fabricated. But what if the Ark is nowhere in the world at all? Let's talk about prophecies. You must already know that the Ark of Covenant is no ordinary object. It has been missing for about 3,000 years and can be considered missing since the existing theories about its whereabouts are not so believable. But what if the Ark of the Covenant is outside the world? Of course, you know about the extraordinary abilities of the Ark. In that case, you will agree that the Ark's going to dwell in an outer worldly place will be a piece of cake for it. An ancient text already tells a shocking tale that intrigues all who hear it. It is a tale of angels intervening to protect the ark during the siege of the Romans. According to this narrative, the angels had caused the earth to swallow up the Ark of the Covenant to protect the ark from any harm. But then, it will amaze you that even more shocking prophecies about the Ark of the Covenant confirm that the earth is nowhere in the world as we speak. The Ark of the Covenant in the New Testament was only mentioned twice. Once by Paul to the Hebrews and the other by John in the book Revelation 11:19. This is where things get interesting. The scripture in Revelation states, "Then the temple of God was opened in heaven, and the ark of his covenant was seen in his temple. And there was lightning, noises, thunder, an earthquake, and great hail." The scripture talks about no other place but heaven, which is the dwelling place of God himself. But that is not all. It further states that the Ark of the Covenant is in God's temple in heaven. If this is true, it tears down every other argument about the whereabouts of the third temple, causing us to change our perspective on the actual capacity of the Ark if the work is truly an embodiment of the presence of God in the past. We should broaden our belief system to see what is possible. But if the Ark is no longer in the world, it brings to mind another vital prophecy about the Ark in the Bible. In Jeremiah 3:16, the prophet declares that the Ark of the Covenant will never be seen again following Israel's exile. These prophecies come together to show the Ark's relevance in spiritual affairs. We cannot tell if the Ark of Covenant will ever be found, as the future remains blurry. However, no matter what happens, the Ark of Covenant will continue to be one of the most sacred objects ever on Earth. We've come to the end of today's video. Thanks for watching till the end. What do you think is...
If you love this kind of content, please consider subscribing to our YouTube channel. We produce amazing videos with interesting topics in the future that are sure to interest you. You can subscribe now and hit the notification bell. Mystery Code.